What if I told you true love was invented by ad executives? I know that sounds wild, but if you bear with me, I'm gonna show you a fundamental marketing tactic that could not only explode your business, but will show you how to create demand for what you offer, even if that demand is not currently there. And these concepts have helped me create multiple million-dollar offers for my businesses. So in the 1930s, there was a diamond mining company called De Beers. Now, the Great Depression had just happened. So people didn't have a lot of extra spending money. And diamonds at that time were considered a ultra niche luxury. And only the ultra wealthy would buy diamonds. It wasn't like it is today where, everybody has a diamond. And so it was incredibly low demand unless you were rich. And after the Great Depression, it was even lower demand. Now, the owner of the company, Harry Oppenheimer, who inherited it from his father, sat down and looked at the balance sheets, and he realized that his diamond mining company was in incredible trouble. And so he thought, how can I convince the public that diamonds are worth spending their money on? I mean, after all, it's just a friggin' rock. Now, Harry knows he needs a game-changing idea to turn this around, but he's not a marketer. So he hires the NWAers ad agency to come up with this idea. Now, this is where a completely unknown copywriter named Frances Garrity comes into the picture. She wasn't famous, she wasn't known, she just was one of the copywriters at the agency. Now, one evening in 1947, she's working late at the office and she's drilling her head into the desk, trying to figure out something, anything that could turn this around for this company. And she knew that the only way to create demand for the diamonds is to somehow make them essential rather than just a luxury or would-be nice purchase. And she thought, okay, so how can I create an emotional appeal with the diamonds and somehow tie them to life's milestones? And she's thinking of all this stuff, and all of a sudden, it just pops into her head. She asks herself the question, what is the one thing that everyone craves in a relationship? Longevity. Everyone wants true, everlasting love. They want it to last forever, especially women. They want a love that lasts. And so she wrote down on a piece of paper, a diamond is forever. Now, she takes it back to the De Beers company and they absolutely loved it. But a slogan is just a slogan. You gotta do something with it. You gotta somehow take that and expand on it as an actual marketing strategy. And so they realized they needed to create a tradition. So what they did was, in order to connect diamonds to the emotional feeling of true everlasting love, they started flooding magazines, radio ads, and all the media that people saw with celebrities and famous people wearing these diamond engagement rings to symbolize the fact that they're engaged, they're getting married. And see, engagement rings at the time were not even really a thing. That wasn't a cultural norm. They created that. They're like, hey, listen, when you get married, you give the woman a rock. They even came up with the idea that a man should spend 2 months' salary on an engagement ring. And they promoted and pushed that idea. And me personally, I think that's incredibly financially irresponsible, but on the other end, as a marketing strategy, it's absolutely brilliant, because if a demand's not there, you create the demand. And so their entire marketing strategy relied on the concept that they made diamonds essential to marriage. And so when they did that, they didn't need to really do anything else because the demand was already created. Now, this was a huge success, and by the 1950s, over 80% of American brides had a diamond engagement ring. Whereas previous to that, just a few years ago, it wasn't even a thing. And the phrase, a diamond is forever, became so iconic that it completely reshaped how people get married and the entire cultural expectations around it. Now, if you're wondering, how the heck can you take this story and these principles and apply it to your business? Well, here's 4 takeaways that you can use to grow your business right now. And then I'll give you an example. So number 1 is find the emotional connection. So whatever product or service you're selling, think about the emotional reason people need it. De Beers didn't sell diamonds. They sold love, commitment, and status. So think about what your customer gets as a result of having your product or service and the emotion that goes with that. Focus more of what you say and your marketing on that and less of the actual product, because it's not about the diamond, it's about the commitment, it's about the love. Oh, look, he bought me an amazing diamond. My husband's so great. I feel so good with my friends that I can brag. Like, that's what it's about. Number 2, create a tradition, not just a transaction. Now, De Beers didn't just try to sell more diamonds, they created a tradition around it. And what that ended up doing was making the diamond essential to life. How you can use this in your business is what is essential? Essential is simply when someone cannot see their lives without something. That is what makes something essential. And so when you are talking about your product or service, when you are promoting it, you need to learn how to speak in a way in which people can't imagine their lives without it. Because if they can imagine their life without it, well then now it's not essential. So that right there is a huge thing. What do we need? We need food, water, shelter. I'm not saying it has to be essential. Is a diamond essential? No, you can get married without a diamond. It's not about being essential. It's about feeling essential. People buy what they feel like buying. People view something as essential because they feel it's essential. So don't try to make the product essential. Try to make your customer feel like it's essential to their life. Number 3, think big even if you're small. Now, Frances was not a big copywriter. She was only just a regular copywriter at that agency. But she didn't let that get in the way of her coming up with a big idea. And that one phrase, not only did it change everything for the diamond mining company, but it changed everything for culture. I mean, that one little moment where she's sitting there scribbling that one line changed the world. And so if you think you're not Oprah, you're not Elon Musk, you're not this famous person with resources, you can't make an impact on the world. I mean, look, everybody started small. Sometimes it starts with a scribble on a napkin. Who's to say that your napkin isn't the next napkin? And who's to say that you change the world for a couple thousand people versus millions of people? Maybe those couple thousand people, you made a true impact in their lives because of that. And that can make you a millionaire. Don't be afraid to shoot for the stars, even if you feel small. Because if you feel small, you're never gonna shoot for big things. And number 4, solve the real problem. So De Beers, they didn't just have a marketing problem, they had a perception problem. People didn't view diamonds as essential, so they had to completely change the narrative around their product. So when people look at your business, ask yourself, are they really seeing what you're offering, or do you need to completely change the narrative around it? Now, let me give you an example of how to change perception. So I did this 3-day event one time. This is a funny story. And Russell Brunson, who bought Dan Kennedy's company, Dan Kennedy is a very famous old school copywriter. He buys this company and he has all these seminars and these recordings of these 3, 4, 5-day seminars that they charge $20,000, $30,000 for on copywriting. And he transcribes them all and he puts them into this big, thick, huge book. And he didn't really have a plan to sell it. And so I gave him the idea. I was like, hey, why don't you sell this for $2,000? I mean, this is like the Bible of copywriting. And he's like, well, I can't sell that for $2,000. I said, I can. And he's like, well, how are you going to sell it for $2,000? I said, well, I can sell it for $2,000 because I can change the entire perception around why this should be worth $2,000. Anyway, eventually I convince him and I do the event. It was called the Write Like Dan Challenge. So during the event, I spoke for an hour a day for 3 days. And at the end of the event, I sold 128 copies of this book for $2,000 a piece. Now, how did I do that? It's because during the event, and by the way, speaking at an event is probably the highest level of sales. I'll make another video on that. But during the event, I focused on creating the perception that copywriting is essential to your business. It's not an option, it's essential. Now, I truly believe that. So it was very easy for me to create that perception because I believe it to my heart and to my core. And if you look at this video that you've been watching, I mean, you have a diamond mining company who completely turned everything around, not because of some new machinery, not because of some accounting thing they did or some contract that they secured. No, it was copywriting. It was friggin' copywriting. I mean, that was what it was. That's all it was. Like at the core, friggin' the fundamental of it, it was copywriting. And so I tell stories like this during that event to show why the single most important aspect that will grow any business is what you say. It's how you describe what you do, because people don't buy good products, they buy good sounding products. So if you focus all of your energy on how to make what you do sound better, that's gonna be the thing that moves the needle the most in your business. And by the end of the event, the perception around copywriting from being this boring thing that marketers do to, oh my God, if I want my business to succeed, this is essential. I need it, I can't live without it. People gladly spent $2,000 on the book about copywriting. So that's the thing. How can you make what you do seem or be essential? And by the way, you have to have the conviction behind what you do, that it's that good, that it's that amazing, that there is an argument that it's essential. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll leave another amazing business training in the description. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.